For objective 1, we have a simple circuit for the LED being fed by port 13 through the LED through a 220 ohm resistor and then back to ground. For the potentiometer, we have it being powered by positive and negative coming back to the power on the board here, and the output of it coming to port A0. So, with the code running and the serial monitor there in the top left, as it goes down, LED stays off. As the potentiometer is turned, as soon as it hits 400, the LED comes on. Off. On. For objective 2, the circuit consists of the sensor here, powered by the negative and positive, with the data being fed back through to analog port A0 here. The code is mainly 3 simple commands: if, else if, and else. So for if it's under a certain value for white line, if it's over or between 2 values, it's black line, and anything else is unknown. And a delay, so the display is not freaking out, going really fast. Anyways, so see, if it's on anything else, it's unknown. It's on white surface, white line. Black surface, black line. White, unknown. For objective 3, when either button is pressed, the yellow light should come on, and when both buttons are pressed, the red light should come on. So, one button, or the other button, both, red light. For the wiring, the buttons have been wired as with pull-down resistors. So the 5 volt and ground coming from here to the strip here. So the positive, so it's the same on both buttons, so the positive comes into one side of the button, then on the other side there is a 10 kilo ohm resistor going to ground, as well as the wire from ground to the port on the board. For the LEDs, those are simple. It's the port on the board powering the LEDs, and then through the 220 ohm resistor back to ground. For the programming on this one, the first part of the program compares the two button states. So if they're different, it lights the yellow LED, and for the second part, if they are both true, lights the red one. Everything else turns both off. The wiring for objective 4 isn't any different from objective 3, except with the addition of another button and another LED. The goal for this objective was to get each button to light up a different LED, but multiple buttons pressed at the same time won't do anything. The programming for objective 4 is that each button has an if statement, and the if statement checks to make sure that button is on but not the other ones, and the else is so turns all the LEDs off. So anything that is not specifically one button only, everything will be off. For objective 5, the wiring is the same as objective 4, but instead of 3 LEDs, there's now just the one RGB LED. It's using the same pins on the Arduino board as the original 3, except, yeah, they're going to the 3 pins on that instead. So, the goal for objective 5 was for button 1 to light it up red, button 2 to light it up green, Button 3 to light it up blue. Buttons 1 and 2 for yellow. Buttons 1 and 3 for magenta. Buttons 2 and 3 for cyan. And then all 3 turns it off. The programming for Objective 5 to light the LEDs ended up being rather simple. So it reads the inputs from the buttons for each one and assigns it to the variables there. And then an if statement checks to see if all of them are on, and if they are, turns all the LEDs off. Everything else, each button is just assigned to one of the pins on the LED to create the various different colors. The goal for Objective 6 was to turn on and off the LED with the light sensor, like so. The wiring for this is positive and ground over here come to the breadboard, and the positive goes through the wire to the sensor here, and from the other side of the sensor it goes through the yellow wire here to port A0, which is the analog in, as well as through a 10 kilo ohm resistor to ground. And the LED is just out of port 13 here through the LED, through a 220 ohm resistor, and then back to ground. So as you can see on the serial monitor there, anytime the light level drops below 20, like when I turn my lamp off, the LED comes on. And when it comes back above 20, the LED turns off again. The code for Objective 6 is relatively simple. It starts with if the light level is less than 20, it turns the LED on. Everything else turns the LED off. And then there is a 100 millisecond delay at the end as to not overload the serial monitor.